Derek Hess is a respected artist out of Cleveland, Ohio. He's well known for his rock and roll concert posters that have been spread all around the world for such acts as Soul Coughing, Pink Floyd, Pearl Jam, Pantera, Offspring, Nine Inch Nails, and many more. He's also done a bunch of album cover art for bands like Sepultura, Converge, R.L. Burnside, Disengage, and a whole bunch more. He has his own art studio in Lakewood, Ohio, and some of his original prints can also be seen in several hard copy books, which are distributed all over the world. Derek has art in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as well as the Louvre in Paris. And today he is my guest on the Sonic Road podcast. Here is my interview with Derek Hess. I saw the new Season to Wrist poster. You were at the rock shop last night?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them probably, I was trying to think here, maybe around 94. I think
Right.
they opened up for Corrosion and Conformity at the Odeon. I remember those guys. They were pretty rocking. I'm sad I missed that show, man. That would have been a fun one.
Yeah, Lopan was on it. That's the first time I've seen them. They were pretty good. Red Giant open, which are always good.
Yeah, I've played with both of those bands back in the day with my band Burn Blue Sky, so I'm pretty familiar with both of those guys. Good dudes, fun. How was the rock shop show? Was it pretty packed?
No, surprisingly, it wasn't. It was about half full.
Oh, that's cool, though.
Yeah.
Nice little club show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get into a little bit of your history and then we'll kind of roll into the current stuff. I'm curious, do you remember your first album cover, like what band it was and what made you want to work with them?
First cover. No, I don't remember what that was. The first one that kind of broke me into the hardcore scene was Converge.
Converge?
Yeah, the Poacher Diaries.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've definitely heard of Converge. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it came out in 99.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, I thought you were going back a little bit farther than that with the album.
Oh, I do go back further. I just don't remember which ones they were.
Oh, right on. Yeah. Yeah, you've done a lot.
It happens with age.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel that too. I was just listening to, I think it was the third Disengage record, and I noticed that was your album art too. And I was like, man, that brought back just a lot of memories for me.
Yeah, what a great record that one is.
Yeah, man. That band, I'm sad they're not around. I know they play here and there, but that was one of my favorite Cleveland bands back in the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, they just played actually opening for Jesus Lizard over at the Agora.
Yeah, I had to miss that one, but I was real close to going to that, but hopefully they'll be back. I hit Jason up on Instagram every now and again. So, what are you doing? Come on,
Oh, no, he's interested in doing. I talked to other members last night, and they're going to be doing stuff.
Oh, cool. That's really good news.
Yeah.
So when you're doing album art, do you listen to the band to kind of inform you a little bit, try and inspire you, or is it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I listen to it. I got to listen to it initially to see if I like it.
For sure.
If I don't like it, I'd be uninspired, and then it would just become work, and it would show that. It wouldn't show the intensity that, I would like it to portray.
That makes total sense. I heard an interesting quote from Jimmy Page a while ago, and he was talking about specifically the House is a Holy album cover. And he said something to the effect of how the album sounds orange to him, which kind of resonated with me a little bit in some strange way. Does that resonate with you? And does album art kind of set the tone for the music?
Yeah, a company called Hypnosis did that cover. And
okay.
Hypnosis did a lot of covers in the 70s. They did Houses of the Holy, they did Presence, they did Physical Graffiti, they did Into the Outdoor, and then in Pink Floyd, they did Wish You Were Here and Animals. Black Sabbath, they did Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die, which is my favorite cover of all time.
Oh, really?
And they did a ton of UFO art CDs, which are amazing.
Never Say Die. That makes total sense. It's sort of a little bit your style. I can see that. I can see why you like it, I guess is what I mean.
Some people don't like that record. I like it a lot, but a lot of people think it's their worst record, but to each his own.
Yeah.
And the cover is what sold me, definitely.
Right. Yeah. That's one of my favorites is Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. That's a great cover too.
Oh, great cover. Great illustration, front and back.
Yeah. I think Never Say Die's the last one with Ozzy, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool though, man. Sabbath, they're big place in my heart. I think a lot of rock and roll fans love some Sabbath for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, you kind of answered my next question because I was going to ask you, did you ever buy an album strictly because of the album cover?
Oh yeah, definitely. As a kid, I walked into a record store and saw AC/DC. If you want blood, you got it.
Oh, right on, man.
Angus jamming his SG through his chest. And I knew nothing about AC/DC. It had just came out, and I'm like, yeah, I grabbed it. I'm like, this is going home with me. I don't care what it sounds like.
Right.
And turns out it was a phenomenal record.
Right on, yeah. They had a lot of great covers, man. AC/DC did back in the day. I've done that too as a music fan. Like, haven't heard the records, and maybe folks now don't, especially the younger folks can't relate to that because they never have to wait. Back in the day,
Right.
you had to wait for albums, and then if it looked cool, you just kind of took a chance with it. I think one of the most recent bands, I mean, I've been a fan of this band for a long time, but I don't know if you're familiar with Baroness, John Baisley.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Great covers. Great.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I got hooked on them. I was like, that cover's amazing. I'm going to buy this record and just take a chance. And I ended up being a huge fan. So
That's the important about album art. If you wanted to sell the record, you wanted to reflect the music, of course.
for sure.
You're being hired to make something that is visually appealing that someone might just pick it up and buy it regardless.
Right. Yeah. I think you're right about that. Do you still do album art?
Yeah. I just did one for Anthrophobia,
Oh, okay.
and I'm doing another one for a band whose name escapes me right now, but it's in the works. It's good stuff. It sounds like Converge.
Oh, okay. Right on. I'm going to check out more Converge. I'm going to take a deep dive in on that.
Yeah.
Anytime I have a guest on, they point me to some bands that I haven't heard yet. I've heard of a lot of bands. I just haven't had a lot of time to check them out. So I'll definitely check those guys out.
Well, there are a lot of bands to check out.
It's infinite. That's the good part about the internet is I'm constantly exploring, and there's so much. So I pick one or two out of a sea of music and just kind of latch onto them and obsess about them for a while. But yeah, that's really cool, man. How does that work? Do the labels approach you, or just the band members specifically, and commission you that way?
It depends. It depends. The baby bands approach me directly.
Right on.
Generally, because they're on such a small label and or not on the label at all.
Right. Yeah, anymore these days.
And the bigger bands, the labels approach me like In Flames did.
Oh, okay. Right on. Yeah. I'm gonna have to go back and check out all your album covers. Yeah, let's kind of go back even a little bit more because I'm curious, because it kind of goes back a little bit before my time in the scene. I mean, I'm 48, so I mean, we were kids in the early 90s going to these Cleveland shows. But one thing I did miss, I never got to go to the Euclid Tavern, and I did read that you kind of started booking shows at the Euclid Tavern. What time frame was that?
I started in '89.
89.
Booking the Uke, and I changed the format from their standard blues and cover band nights to the rock nights, and developed my concert posters through the Uke, because I was studying printmaking at the same time over at CIA.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took my knowledge of that, and and me being my own client to promote my own shows,
right,
I was able to do what I wanted to, and gave me the freedom to express the bands and the music and the club, appropriately.
Right. Yeah, that's great. That's a great place to be when you have free reign to basically make a new scene. I mean, that's pretty much what you were doing.
Right. It was the right time at the right place.
Yeah. What bands were you bringing in at the time?
Helmet was my first national tour.
Oh, okay.
I was bringing in like the Melvins, Helmet, Jawbox, Jesus Lizard, Paintings. I did Green Day, believe it or not, at the U, with about 200 people there.
Wow. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah. And
Nirvana played there. Did you do that one?
No. I don't believe Nirvana played there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I believe their first time they came through was at the Empire.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got that kind of mixed up. Did you go to that show?
No.
Yeah. That's one band that I definitely missed. Do you remember your first flyer? I mean, first album cover. Do you still have any of that really early stuff?
Yeah, actually, the book I'm putting out will have all the concert posters and all the flyers I've ever done.
Oh, awesome.
Until part of this year.
That's the new book.
Yeah, the new book.
That's
And
amazing.
it'll be out around October, and we're looking to do a book signing tour
Okay. Great.
with it. And my first concert, my first flyer was for a band called Knife Dance.
Nice chance.
Yeah.
That's a great name.
Yeah. Yeah, they were cool.
When did you start to kind of realize, because it obviously was evolving, your art was evolving in that format as far as posters go. When did you just kind of start to realize that they were becoming more than just promotion? They were starting to become collectibles. At what point did you kind of realize that?
Well, the thing about the flyer is you want to draw something cool to attract, somebody to look at it. And
Right.
then you want somebody to put it together that all that drawing styles for that club, for which being the Euclid Tavern.
Right.
Then you'd want them to, go to those shows and realize, oh, that drawing styles for the Euclid Tavern, and the Euclid Tavern's putting on good shows.
Right.
Maybe I should go to it, whether I know the band or not. And then you also want the flyer to be cool enough so people pick it up and put it on their refrigerator.
For
you know?
sure.
And once that kind of saturated the market, because I was doing, a lot of flyers.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I found out people started taking the flyers down from telephone poles and coffee shop windows and record store windows and stuff and taking them home.
Right.
And realizing I have to print a lot more of the one.
Yeah.
You'd be able to keep replacing them around
Right.
town.
Right.
So that's basically when it started to make sense that people were wanting the flyers for their art.
Right. That's cool, man. Very cool. It's kind of yeah, I know you still put them up today. I don't see a lot of band flyers out anymore. It's probably illegal now, now to put them up in a lot of places that we used to when we were kids.
It's harder to. I just did a Soul Coughing poster,
Mm-hmm.
and I just did the Season Risk poster and the Jesus Lizard poster, and it's just harder to find poles to put them on. A lot of the poles,
Right.
especially downtown, are now metal.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't tape them up; I staple them up.
Right.
So it's what we've been doing with social media is we're going around and stapling them up with landmarks behind it, a little snippet of a landmark,
It's a great idea.
saying, go get it. So we get people to go out hunt for the posters
Yeah.
and collect them.
That's like an Easter egg hunt. That's awesome.
Exactly. It's been
I'm going
fun.
to keep an eye on you now.
Okay. Watch the social media. That's where we've been doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been checking you out. I wasn't really putting it together that that's what you were doing, but that's a really cool thing. It's like a little Easter egg hunt. You got to go out and find it. That's awesome.
Right.
That's fun. Well, I read further, like after the Euclid Tavern thing, that you started your own music festival. Can you tell me a little bit about that? I mean, how was that experience for you, like diving into the music business on that side of things?
Well, yeah, I stopped booking in 95 at the U.
Okay.
I burned out.
Right.
And dove right into the concert posters and the artwork. And we started a clothing line, me and my business partner, Marty Jaramita. We started a clothing line called Stress, Strhess.
Okay.
H being silence.
Right.
And we just came to a point where it's like, well, let's do a stress fest. And so that's how that came about. And, we just found a venue that would have 2 stages, generally the Agora and what do they call Nautica these days? Jacobs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And get a ton of bands and do a festival.
Was Clutch on that?
Clutch was on one. Yeah.
Okay. I vaguely remember that. Who else played that?
That one, Boys Sets Fire, Converge, of course, Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah.
Above This Fire. This was in the 2000s.
Right.
So
okay.
we were doing a lot of the hardcore bands at the time.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's all coming back.
I was working with a lot of those hardcore bands.
And that was more than 1 year? You would do it every year?
Yeah, we did it. I think we did it 4 years, and then we also did stress tours, where we
Okay.
put together a package of bands and put them on tour and called it Stress Tour.
Wow. How difficult was that? It seems like these package tours, they seem like they would be hard to book. As an outsider looking in, as a musician myself, I'm like, it's the intricacies of all that stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. It'd be tough for me and Marty to do it on our own. So we get a booking agent that we were friends with who's interested in setting it up, and
Right.
they would route it.
Right.
And we're doing another one. We're gonna do another. We'll revive the Stress Fest, a smaller one, and I believe that one will probably be in October as well here in Cleveland.
Okay. Cool. You know the venue yet?
It's that new one. I don't know what it's called. The one that it's associated with the Agora, which is going to be down in the West Bank of the Flats.
Globe Iron, I think that is.
I believe so.
Yeah, that opens up next week. Well, our friend's band is actually opening that. I'm actually going to go check that out. I'm very curious about it.
Oh, cool.
I don't know exactly where it is, though. I was just down in the Flats like last fall for a show. I think it was the Clutch show and the Rival Sun show.
Right.
We went over to the other side and we were hanging out, and all these memories just kept flooding back about all the shows, the Odeon and the old Peabodys. And it was kind of surreal. It looks like they're picking it up. They're cleaning it up rather back over there a little bit. So hopefully, I don't know if that's where the Globe Iron is, but it'd be cool if it was over on the other side there.
Yeah. I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go check it out and get some intel. Well, we'll switch gears a little bit and then maybe bookend it up with some more rock and roll. But getting into your current work, do you ever look at your older work and kind of, do you recognize your younger self in that, or does it feel like someone else to you? I mean, because everybody changes so much.
It's kind of like a diary, you know, looking at it and seeing it evolve. Everything, it's always been loose.
Right.
Except the earlier ones, they were tightened up to have the anatomy correct, you know, but still came off as loose.
Right.
The original sketches for those were really loose and really gestural, and I always liked those better because they're more expressive.
Right.
But I chose to tighten them up, you know, for the more people to be accessible to more people's tastes.
Right.
And but it's evolved now, and now I'm doing some really, really loose stuff, you know, fine art stuff. I actually used some for that soul coughing poster and the seasoned risk poster.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I checked them both out. So yeah, and what you're saying makes sense. As a person that doesn't know much about articulating art, you know,
right?
Yeah, it makes total sense on what you're saying there.
I got some here if you want me to show you.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay. All the better ones are over at the gallery, but like here's one I did 2 nights ago.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
So yeah, I'm doing a really loose, really stark black, and laying down some black accent lines.
Yeah, that's different. The black accent lines.
Let me see.
Is that person buried?
Buried.
Kind of what it looks like.
It's called Same Old Song.
Okay.
And here's one, an embracing one.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah, that's amazing.
So yeah, this is the kind of stuff I'm doing now.
Okay. I stopped at your gallery maybe a month or two ago.
Here's kind of an orgy one.
Okay. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Yeah, that's the stuff I'm doing now, and I'm preparing for 2 shows. They're ways off. In October, I'm going to do Jersey City.
All right.
And then in April 2022, I'm doing Hamburg.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
I got a ton of those at the studio.
Yeah.
Gallery.
Yeah, we went through and kind of leafed through everything. And you did a lot of posters back when I was a kid. We'd go into these shows. You did Pearl Jam. That was on my 16th birthday. So that was a lot of memories flooding back. That was a lot of thought and feeling there. And then I think you did a Pantera show. That was my first Pantera show in '95 with Time Negative Open. He did that one. And all these memories just keep flooding in. I'm like, man, all this work has been in the back of my mind for decades. So I'm sure a lot of your fans kind of feel the same way. Real quick, I had a question. I listened to this interview with Maynard Keenan from Tool, and it was probably recorded a few years back because he was talking about a song called 10,000 Days. And he said it was a big mistake at the time because he opened himself up too much. He became vulnerable to the public. And he said it was the biggest mistake of his life to release that song, which to me is insane because that's one, in my opinion, it's one of the best songs he's ever been a part of. Do you ever feel that way? Does a project, when you're starting a project, does it ever get a little too personal or to where you have to walk away from it, or you just kind of blow through it and whatever you're feeling at the time, you just get it out?
It's generally what I've always done, and I'm really doing it on this new work, and people dig it, then great. If not,
Right.
to each his own. And every time I change my style, it seems like there's a lot of people or like, well, why can't you do what you've been doing?
Of course.
Resist, But as work goes on and compiles, they tend to come around to it. And sometimes it takes bringing my viewers into the new stuff, a little kicking and screaming.
Of course.
But,
that's how it should be, man.
Yeah. I mean, I got to have growth or I'll stagnate and become bored and not want to do it anymore.
Yeah, my girlfriend's an artist. She's a ceramic artist, and she kind of goes through that same thing. She's been in this process of changing her work. She's been doing this style of work for a really long time, very successful with it. But she just switched gears. Around the time I met her, just watching her struggle and go through that, she, a lot of self-doubt. Like, are people going to like it? And I was just like, who cares? Just do it. Right. It's what you need to do. So that makes total sense. And being a musician too, I feel the same way. We're not catering to anybody. I'm grateful for whoever listens to whatever I'm a part of, but at the same time, you got to do it for yourself. So yeah, that makes total sense.
Right.
I know you said you have a new book coming out. We'll talk about it. Your most recent book was Not Going to Stop Until I've Gone Too Far, which is completely a rock and roll title. That could be an album, that's a great
title.
Do you see a difference in how, talking about fans, do you see a difference like in how fans kind of react to this long form media format, like a book, as compared to the more individual pieces? Is there like a big difference in reaction?
Yes and no. The poster collectors, the only poster collectors are fine without the book. And then the ones that are really into it, really want the book because then it compiles everything.
Right.
Stuff that they haven't bought, if they're buying posters, but they can't buy them all, or they don't have wall space for it, or whatever. You can only own so much artwork.
Right.
You only have so much wall space.
Well, some people fill up their whole house and garage and warehouse with it.
This is true. I've been to a couple pieces, places where they've done it from floor to ceiling.
Yeah.
Which is really flattering.
That's amazing. Yeah. It's like record collecting, I mean, I do a little bit of that. I'm a big vinyl guy, but it's like, over the years I've had to get rid of some because, man, it's like moving this shit around sucks,
Yeah.
Go through and curate it a little bit and get rid of the stuff you're not listening to. I'm sure art is the same way. My lady is the same thing.
That vinyl can get heavy.
Oh yeah, I've moved a lot in the last 5 years, so and I'm getting older, so it's like you're starting to understand. It's like, oh, okay, we got to get rid of some of this.
Yeah. That book, that book you mentioned was a companion book to my last show.
Okay.
And we only sold it at the show. We had a limited number online. It was a small run, and it had every piece that was in that show in that book.
Okay.
That was a transition from what I'd been doing to what I'm doing now. It's real loose stuff, but I still hadn't hit the stride I'm working on now.
Right. I wasn't really going to ask this, but I just curious. Have you ever done a series telling a story, not like a graphic novel kind of thing or anything like that?
No, not really.
Like
I've repeating themes, but it's generally not consecutive.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. But when your fans say that your work has helped them out through, tough times, and I'm sure you've had a lot of emails over the years because, but looking at a lot of your stuff, it evokes a lot of emotion, no matter what it is, maybe past experience or what, it will draw that out. What's your gut reaction to that when a fan comes up and says, man, this really helped me out during a tough time?
Oh, it's really flattering, and it's like it's something that I went through, and
Sure.
they can relate to it, and we may not have gotten to that same point where we relate to, but getting to that, once being at that same point, it's a universal feeling.
Sure.
Like getting depressed, and this happened to me and that happened to me, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden, I'm depressed, and for them, something else happened to them, and something happened to them, and they're depressed, but they can relate to the depression because it's a universal, human feeling.
For sure. Yeah, it is a good feeling. I mean, I'm not a famous guy or anything, but I've been in music for a long time. When somebody latches on to any part of it and they'll come up and tell you, like, man, that song really made me feel this way or that way. It's like, oh, I'm doing my job. I'm making the world a better place, I guess, in some way. It can be very flattering. It's like,
Right.
okay, this is going beyond me, which is great.
Right.
Tell me a little bit more about acting out, that your mental health awareness thing. Is that still going on?
No, we've that's kind of run its course right now. We will probably dabble in it again here in May, because May is the mental health month.
That's right. Okay.
A couple years ago, 4 years ago now, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, every day in May, I would make a post on social media, a drawing,
Okay.
and then write a description about it, how it deals with mental health.
Mhm.
And so we did 31 of them. And so in the following year, it was very successful. So we decided to do a book called 31 Days of May,
Okay.
and which was repeating those images like I did in social media. But being a book, you could add more than one image per day.
Right.
So, like, say we're on the second day, instead of just being the second one, like it was on the website, and then turn to the third, it could be the second one with an image and 3 or 4 or 5 other images that relate to the second day,
Okay.
and then move on to the next one.
Okay.
And definitely having the mental health angle, not to make it an angle, but the mental health vibe. And then it was also part of recovery as far as AA goes, alcoholism,
Mm.
and or drug abuse goes. So we kind of made them hand in hand, but it leaned more towards mental health being mental health month.
Okay. That's great. So let's kind of go back into the rock and roll realm again, and then we'll talk about this new book because I'm like very curious about this. You have a rock and roll show on a radio station, WCSB, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I had one for 8 years, once a week, called Overrated.
Okay.
It's on WCSB 89.3 Cleveland, or WCSB.org, anywhere in the world online.
Okay.
And but I burned out, so now I'm on the rock rotation, same radio station, every third Friday night at 7 o'clock.
Okay. Every third. I was looking for it last night because I know you were on last week. I was like, I want to check this out.
Yeah, it's a different DJ on last night's rock
Like,
rotation.
yeah, do you curate your own playlist? You kind of work through that and
Oh, I play anything I want.
yeah.
Yeah, it's across the board, whatever.
Do you play local bands and stuff, or is it all just signed stuff?
Both, both.
Okay. That's cool. How'd you get into radio?
I've always wanted to do radio for some reason, and I did a talk at Cleveland State, a movie screening for my movie that came out 2016, I believe it was, and in an auditorium at Cleveland State University. And the head of the radio department put it together because he was a fan of my work.
Okay.
And we did the screening, and then afterwards we did a question and answer. Me and Nick Cavalier, the guy who did the movie, who did a
Okay.
wonderful job.
Was
And,
was that for Forced Perspective?
yes,
Okay.
yes. And afterwards, I'm talking radio with him, and I'm like, I've always wanted to do a radio show. And he's like, really? And I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. He says, well, I'll see what I can do. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, he says, I can get you a show. You just need to come in and take the test and learn the gear, and we'll get you a time slot. And so that's how that came about.
That's awesome. Cool. I've never done radio. I've done radio interviews, but I've never thought about doing radio. That's why I started doing podcasts. It's like podcasting is more like there's no rules, it's
Right.
kind of an art form, you got to get better at it. And it's just based on rock and roll. So it's like, what am I interested in? Who do I want to talk to? And why do I want to talk to them? And you just ask and you get them on. So it's similar to radio, but there's no FCC or anything like that. So that's cool.
Yeah, we got the FCC, there's certain words you can't use.
Yeah. It's kind of old school, ain't it?
Yeah. Top of the hour, you always have to do the station ID and do a couple PSAs. But other than that, you're off and running.
Do you have guests on your show? Like
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll check it out next time it comes on for sure.
One time when I first started, I was having a guest once a week, and I had a flat Earth guy on.
Oh my God.
I had a chemtrail guy on.
Oh my God, really?
Guy on who talked about how Paul McCartney had been dead since 1964.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Those are weird.
I did an interview with Gene Simmons too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
How was he?
Yeah, that was cool.
He came down like early 2000s trying to sign a, Distant Friends band. And he was in I don't know if you ever go down to Akron, but there's a place called Ron's Crossroads. A lot of big bands were going through there.
Okay.
He was coming into the local scene looking for bands to pluck out. And I don't think it ever happened, but he was around hanging out. It's pretty
right. Cool.
There's been a lot of moments like that over the years. The Black Keys getting so big, and probably one of the bigger bands that's ever come out of here at this point in the game.
Right.
But yeah, it's an interesting place to live, man. Cleveland's a big rock and roll town, a lot of rock and roll history, Chad too, same way, and Akron. So I feel fortunate.
Yeah, the Soul Coughing show that, I just wanted to do the poster for, it sold out in a day, and I was talking to the general manager of House of Blues, and he's involved with House of Blues in other markets too. And he's going, it's interesting how some cities, they will sell 200 tickets. Some cities will sell 500 tickets. Some cities, it'll sell out, but it'll take a while to sell out. But he's like, Cleveland's a big soul coughing market. So, it shows that there is passion here for the music.
There definitely is. I mean, another, I know you're heavily not involved, but you've been around the Clutch camp for a while. Those guys were the same way. I mean, they would come here all the time until they broke, and because they were big here. But I would read interviews, and they were like, "Man, we're only big," and they were a regional band for a very long time, East Coast, Ohio, and then strangely enough, as soon as they got off the major labels and started their own label, is when they exploded.
Right.
And they just went nationwide, and they were probably always big in Europe. But man, I remember seeing that band I don't know if you ever, what was that festival out in Youngstown called? It was something Monolith. It was it was a stoner rock festival, and they would play that every year, but it was this old farmhouse with like this pole barn attached to it.
Oh, cool.
And it was like 300 people. Disengage would play it a lot.
Right.
That's just another one of those bands that would always come to Cleveland because people, loved them.
Yeah. Yeah, but like you said, now everybody loves Clutch. They do well in every market. Yeah, and I do a poster for them every time they come through Cleveland.
Yeah, I was at the last show. I saw that poster. Cool. If you have any prints, maybe we'll come down and snag one up.
Yeah, we still have some, and they also are available on the website. So.
Okay, what's your website?
DerekHess.com.
That's just for the listeners. So let's talk proper about the book. We've talked a little bit about it. That was news to me. I didn't know it was coming out. So let's give it a really good advertisement, I guess we want to call it. Tell us all about the book from beginning to end, what the concept is, and when it's coming out and everything.
Okay, the book, I don't remember how many pages it is, but it's big. And we start with the black and white flyers. We have introductions. Dennis King is one of them, who is a big poster collector dealer in San Francisco. And he writes about it, and my business partner writes about it. The editor of the book writes about it, and it's some good editorial stuff. And then we go into the history of the Euclid Tavern and the first flyers, and then go through that. And it's broken up by years, like 89 through 92.
Okay.
93 through 95. I'm just guessing, that it's
right.
I don't know the year breakups, And so you can see the change over the years, the progression and the music style, because music changes, every
Absolutely.
4, 5, 6 years, and so I changed with it because I stuck with it and I liked what was going on with the newer stuff, and the art style started getting looser, leaning towards what I'm doing now, but not nearly as loose as what I'm doing now.
Okay.
And so that's how those are the black and white flyers, which again, I've done a lot more than posters, but I don't know how many color posters are in there. There may be 150, 200.
Oh,
Some,
wow.
yeah. So it's everything I did, except there are two that are pending by their record label and their management. So there's two that we had to get approval for, and they have yet to get back with us. And I get the feeling they're not going to. So they'll be -2 posters, but it's okay because the vast majority is in.
Okay. That's going to be a very proper archive for that time in your life. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that for sure.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's been a long time coming.
And what date was that it comes out?
We don't have a specific date. We're shooting for October,
Okay.
and then we're shooting for a tour to
Okay.
coincide with it. We are presently talking to some venues. We're waiting for some venues to express interest with us, and that's what happened with the 31 Days of May book tour. A lot of people approached us about, will you come to my gallery? Will you come to my tattoo parlor, my comic book
Sure.
shop, wherever, and do the book signings? And it was pretty successful.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, that's about all I have, man.
Okay.
Thanks for jumping on with me. I really respect your work. And I recently moved up to Cleveland, so I got a chance to go up to your studio, and we had a really good time doing that. I mean, that whole complex there is a lot of art in there, and
Yeah, isn't it amazing?
yeah, it's beautiful. And I think we went up for it was one of those art festivals back last fall.
A third Friday.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was very cool, a very cool art community. It was wide open to everybody, and it was packed to the max. And that kind of gives a testimony to what Cleveland is, a big art and music town. So
Yeah, the third Fridays my business partner is a little upset about because that's what my radio show is.
oh,
And
so you're not there. Yeah, I don't think you were there. I think we popped up there and you weren't in there. So we're like, oh, shucks.
yeah, when I have an art show there, I'll be able to switch out DJs, change, switch Fridays with somebody
Yeah,
to cover my show and I'll cover theirs. But I can't do that a lot.
right.
And the only way to get into the rock rotation, the only available spot was the third Friday. So
Okay. Excellent.
I get there early sometimes, in case someone wants to meet me or talk or get something signed. I'll get there like 5 to 5:45. I need to head down to the station at 6.
Okay. Right on. So before we let you go, so your gallery, I mean, do you have set hours for that so people can come visit?
No, it's by appointment only during the week.
Okay. And
I
then
mean,
just
you can stop by sometimes and, the door's open and Marty's in there working, but,
yeah.
and that's fine. But it's not like we invite, tons of people to come on down.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. I just want to clear that up because
And then it's located at 1300 West 78th Street in Cleveland.
okay. Excellent. Good luck with everything on the book. I'll keep my eyes open, and maybe we can do it again around the time the book comes out. We'll have another conversation and kind of broaden it out a little bit, talk more about it. That'd be great.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Thanks for the interest.
Okay. Oh, I have a question for her, but just hang on the line. But thanks for joining, and we'll talk hopefully soon, man.
Okay.